Well, we're just going to start with with a couple most obvious questions that should be asked, which are, of all the teams you've listed, Les, who do you think is the most likely to overachieve this year?
The team I think is most likely going to overachieve this year is actually going to be the Florida Gators. Because when I watched the Florida Gators spring game, as I mentioned in our spring game episode, Billy Napier almost seems like he's got a swagger behind that program. They look livid and they look ready to play. And whether it is Graham Mertz, whether it is Jack Miller who becomes a starting quarterback, I think they are more ready to step into a collegiate offense than maybe Anthony Richardson, which shout out for the Colts first round draft pick, by the way. I think they are going to be more ready to pass in a collegiate system than Anthony Richardson was at this point of last year. If it is Jack Miller, I really like that narrative that I made about him. But no, I think the Florida Gators, I predicted last year that LSU could be a sleeper team in the SEC, and they actually did really well, even made it to the SEC championship game, I believe. I think the Florida Gators could be that team this year. That's how high I am on the direction Billy Napier has this team going.
Okay, so what about underachieve?
Underachieve. I think it's pretty obvious stating because I have them at the number 20 rank, and that's the Clemson Tigers. Ever since they lost both coordinators, I really don't like the direction Clemson's going. They did take a step in the right direction. Of course, I sounded like I'm just being completely hypocritical here by saying this, but no, they took a step in the right direction, I think, when they hired Garrett Riley as their offensive coordinator. But I think watching Clemson, and I watched them last year, and I think the NFL, I know we're not an NFL podcast anymore, Matt, but when I looked at Miles Murphy and Brian Brzee going late in the first round of the NFL draft, that's kind of a metaphor that I liked. That was kind of a metaphor and analogy that I like to see to just show how much Clemson has really been underachieving as of recently. They're a program that we expect to be atop the ACC every year. And now I don't even know if I have them top 2 anymore. I still have questions at the quarterback position. Even though I was big on Cade Klubnik coming out of high school, I'm not convinced on their quarterback play. I don't really know I really don't know what to expect from them anymore. That's something we're not used to saying about a Dabo Swinney offense, about a Dabo Swinney team, period. I almost got ahead of myself, but no, in general, we used to know what we were going to get from a Dabo Swinney team. Brent Venables, I think, is showing the value that he had with that organization. He used to have the best defenses in college football. He was probably the best defensive coordinator in college football, for being honest. And like I said, I didn't like the move to Oklahoma because I feel like his aspirations are the best defensive coordinator in college football. I was never really sold on Clemson offenses. I always feel like Clemson was a team that had 2 really good quarterbacks at one point in time, and Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence, and that was their offense. But they were mostly led by their defense. And then when they lost Venables, that just doesn't do it for me. You know, they're just not the same team. For the time being, they still have good players, they still have good recruits, but the schemes just aren't there. Something's just missing. It's just like that edge is missing with them.